Hello everyone, SirMonkeySuit or Zabi here, back again with Kuroko in a Basket Season 1. We are on episode 19, and in the last episode, Seirin got given their first loss, and it's against Toho Academy, of course, who Aomine plays for. Now, I figured that this would happen. I mean, I theorised a bunch of times beforehand, because at the end of the day, it just felt like it was going to happen. I mean, at the end of the day, being a sports anime and stuff like that, you kind of have to hand them a loss so that they can grow from it and sort of improve on what their weaknesses are and things like that, you know. I mean, mostly, you know, I think a lot of the credit has to go to Momoi as well, because at the end of the day, she was the one that was able to shut down the team, right? There was this whole thing at the beginning of the match where they were talking about Toho is more of it's like a team of individuals, and it was a case of, right, well, how are they going to combat that style of play? So, I mean, the obvious thing was, well, it's team play that's going to do it, right? Now, I mean, that's the thing, is that the fact that Momoi, she essentially was the one that shut that down, because she had each of the individual marks who are marking, you know, the Seirin players, research all their weaknesses and everything like that. So, you know, they were able to just shut each of the players out, so that they couldn't work at their maximum, and just completely shut them out in terms of that. So, you know what I mean? It ended up becoming a case for, you know, like, a lot of the match was Aomine versus Kagami. You've got to take into account as well, Kagami wasn't really at full strength when he came in. I know that they said that, but I really don't think he is. The fact that he had to have his leg taped not that far into the game, I think proves that Kagami wasn't really working at 100% anyway. I mean, not that it matters for that early on in the game, because generally Kagami doesn't go all out at the start of games. He kind of, like, you know, they get better as they go along, you know, so... but I think because they were trying to get a point gap, before Aomine showed up, they weren't able to get that. And, you know, I mean, it was just demonstrating the fact that Toho Academy isn't just Aomine. He's obviously clearly the best player, but you know, each of the other players in their own right is still good. So, you know, a lot of the credit I think has to go to Momoi. But I mean, at the end, as soon as Kagami did have to come off, by putting obviously strain on his other leg to avoid, you know, using his injured leg anymore, there was that whole, you know, they just absolutely demolished them after that. They dismantled them. But obviously the thing is that Seirin didn't give up, whilst other teams and players, other opposition, would have given up. So I think to a degree, Aomine respected that. You know what I mean? Like, it was like a step forward in a way that Aomine was like, he's looking for a rival, but there's still nobody that can beat him or stand up to him individually. Kagami's, you know, aside from the other generation of miracles, Kagami's the closest, but he's still not there at all. So, you know, but I think Aomine can see possible potential in there. And, you know, I'm looking forward to the revenge match anyway. So yeah, that was the first game of the Championship League. There's two more to play, and that's against Senshinkan and Meisei. So I feel like Meisei, it seems as though there's been mention by Shotoku, right? I think the captain on Shotoku said that Meisei is pretty much, you know what I mean, they're going to get beat by Senshinkan. So I feel like Seirin will get a win against them, and if, you know, for story purposes, it would make sense to play Meisei as the second game and then Senshinkan to be the third one, to kind of, you know, make sure that Seirin do get through. But it's going to be interesting in Senshinkan as well, because that is the third King of Tokyo, right? So yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that goes down. But yeah, I mean, that's all I got. So thank you everyone for watching. Why am I saying that? That's not right. I'm not even at the end of the video yet. Yeah, we're going to get in the reaction. So if you do want to go actually watch the reaction episode 19, the link is in the description below. There's also a link to the full length there if you do want to watch it in full and not just the 10-minute version. Then the offer is there for you. But yeah, nothing else to really talk about. So we're going to get into episode 19 and see what we get. So without further ado, let's go. Okay, episode 19. Right, well, that honestly just didn't go the way that I expected at all. I thought that because they had this whole thing about not giving up, I figured that that would tie into, like, their mentality about how they go into games. So that even though they got beat by Toe, very convincingly, I figured that they would pull themselves back around for a new game, like, and not let it affect them. Now, I don't really know if it truly affected anybody other than Kuroko that was actually playing, because obviously Kagami wasn't playing, and I feel like the way that he was acting, it may have affected, like, probably would have affected him when he was playing if he was. So, but I feel like it was mostly showcasing Kuroko, like, not landing his passes. So, you know, I just it wasn't the way that I was expecting it to go. I would have thought they would have at least gotten one win that would have carried them through. I mean, my whole thing was, I was thinking that they would obviously not win the Inter High, but I figured that they would get there to face off against Kaijo, and that would be the revenge match that would knock them out. Because, I mean, we're at episode 19, so we've got, what, like, 6 episodes left? I think so, right? So, of season 1, anyway. I mean, now we're just basically in the phase of training for the Winter Cup, so, you know, there is that. But anyway, yeah, so we lost all of them, so that means that they were automatically out. If you lose all of them, that's pretty much it, isn't it? If you can buy yourself a win, then, you know what I mean, then you're pretty much through. But yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is we've got this new Serine member, which is going to obviously change things up. You know what I mean? Before he even came in, I noticed in the opening, like, there was like, he was like the last one to, like, almost show up in the Serine team, and I was like, wait a minute, who's that? Because I wasn't actually watching the opening or taking notice of it in the previous episodes, so I just never noticed. But yeah, so his name is Kiyoshi Teppei. He's actually known as the Ace, but he's also a center as well, which I actually found interesting. The reason why Kiyoshi at the end there was talking about, let's play a one-on-one match to determine who gets the spot when it actually comes to games. But I mean, the thing is that Kagami is a power forward, right? So surely they would be able to play at the same time. Though I guess the idea of ace, you would consider Kagami Serine's ace. So I mean, there's that. But ace isn't a position though. It's just the one that you like, you sort of pin your hopes on to get the goal, or the, you know, the point. You know what I mean? He's the one that you trust to score the most points. So I would think that they could both play. I mean, who plays centre now? Like, who's the centre for Serine before Kiyoshi? I'm gonna have to bring up the like, positions just to see. Is because if I guess there's different ones, isn't there? I guess, like, there's a position for obviously the amount of people on the court, but there's also more though, depending on how they play. So a point guard's like a number 3, right? A number 3, the one that gets 3-pointers. Oh, I guess a shooting guard would be as well. So either way, that would be Hyuga. Power forward, yeah, I'll be Kagami. I don't know who the centre would be. Let's see if I can, like, get up the point guard, also called the one or the point, is the one of the 5 positions in a regulation basketball game. A point guard, it has perhaps the most specialised role of any position. Yeah, so that wouldn't be Hyuga then. specialized. That would probably be Izuki then? I guess it would be. What's a small forward? Small forwards are typically shorter, quicker, and leaner. The centre. The big man. The centre is normally the tallest player on the team, yeah. And often has a great deal of strength and body mass as well. Alright, well... a centre would be good for general defence, right? So maybe if you're sort of taking off like position for position, then you would probably take off Mitabe for Kiyoshi, right? But that's the thing, is like, I mean, I don't know if Mitabe was typically the center. I know Kagami's actually taller than him. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Kagami's playstyle, I guess, could be like a mixture of a power forward and a center, but because Kagami's always like getting up front and getting back and doing a lot of the work. So, you know, but I feel like if you have Kiyoshi as the center and have Kagami as the power forward, then that means that you have great offense. And, you know, if the whole point of a center is like, you know, great on defense, it doesn't specifically say that, but I feel like because they're strong and they're tall, it makes sense. That, you know what I mean? That means that you would have a great up front and a great defense on either side, and that means Kagami's not, because that's the thing, is like over the past few games that Kagami's played, he's always like overexerted himself because he does so much of the work to you know, defend and attack, that he's like always running himself ragged. So if you have both of them on the court at the same time, it means that you've halved the load that Kagami has to do, and he only really has to focus on what's going on in the attacking sense, as opposed to the defensive. He can still do like defensive work if the situation calls for it, but you know, if you're able to save a lot of the energy that Kagami is you know, he's basically using up, then that means towards the end of the game, when Kagami's at his best, it means that he can push that much more in the final like moments of the game, which can be the decider, you know. So it could be that, but I mean the thing is that because we have Kiyoshi coming in, you can change it up. So like if Kagami is, you know, for example, if he's on 4 fouls again, or if he's like starting to get tired, then maybe you can take him out and put Kiyoshi in, and he can offer something else. They said that he's the ace, so I'm assuming that he's a good scorer of the, you know, he can get points. But I found it interesting when he went up to score, like when he was talking to Kuroko, that he missed. And I don't know if he did that on purpose, or if it's just because he's had a year out. I mean, I think it's a year out, because they were in the Inter High, right? And the Inter High was the summer, so the fact that he's been out like a year must have been a bad injury, I'd assume. And he also said that he was undefeated as well, so it makes me like, the idea I've got in my head is that last year's Inter High, he probably got injured in a game, and then when they didn't have him to score the points, they ended up losing, you know. So yeah, anyway, it's going to be interesting, this one-on-one between Kagami and Kiyoshi anyway, but we'll see. But I like Kiyoshi at the moment, because you know, like the fact that he's not willing to just be put into the team because he's an upperclassman, he's a senpai, so he wants to earn his place in the team. I like that. So, you know, we'll see. I'll be honest, I don't know if he's going to be able to pull it off. If he missed that shot when he was talking to Kuroko because he is out of practice, then I just feel like Kagami's going to run him ragged. But, you know, I feel like that's shooting, though. in defense, I don't think you lose that really. You just need to know where to be and when to jump at the right time, kind of thing. And with him being that tall, he might be able to block Kagami from scoring. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, so what else? Yeah, he also created the team as well. So he was the one that started the basketball team last year, and then he just ended up getting injured, which that kind of sucks. But yeah, and then after that, the only things to talk about really are at the sort of beginning of the episode, or towards the beginning, when Midorima was talking and like Kisei were talking about it, that oh my god, Toa's like incredible and stuff, and Midorima said something that was interesting, where he said that you should worry about Kuroko, as that's your weakness. I think what Midorima was talking about there, he was alluding to the fact that like it was mostly down to the style of Seirin as a whole, that they were very similar in terms of like they're an offensive team to Toa, so everything's like up man for man. But if you have a style like Shutoku, that could be like they could do much better against Toa. So it's not just the fact that Seirin beat Shotoku. That doesn't necessarily mean that Toa is gonna like beat Shotoku by even more. We'll just have to wait and see. But I mean, even Midorima knows that Kuroko is the one that Kisei struggles with. So yeah, it's just the different styles and how you play against them. So yeah, Kagami, he was thinking that was possibly their limit. I was not expecting him to I wasn't expecting him to say that, because he's always been the one that's been up for it and everything like that. But then again, I guess like just by going, win after win, eventually it does like become natural, and you're just like, yeah, I mean, friggin' hell, like there's no way we're gonna get some team that's gonna double our score, But I think they're being harsh on themselves. Kagami was injured, and Momoi just had all the research on the other members, So basically, it was all up to Kuroko to see if he could actually do something. And as Aomine said, he hasn't changed. He hasn't improved. He hasn't done anything that will catch like Aomine off guard. So it was easy for them. So they're being harsh on themselves. It's just that, they were found out. Now that they've lost, they can learn from that and start to improve. The thing is with the the whole thing of Kagami wanting to do better individually, I don't think it's a bad thing. They've had this this thing of like, oh, it's all about team play and everything like that, and yeah, that's fine. But I think in terms of whenever there is a need for one player to just bring the rest of the team out of the shit, that can be really fucking like crucial, It's not a case of Kagami like wanting to win the game all by himself. I mean, if that was the case, you would just send him onto the court as one person. You know what I mean? Even though the game would automatically be forfeit because you don't have enough players to play. But I mean, that's the whole point, is that just because Kagami does most of the work, it doesn't mean that like he's winning it by himself. He still needs the other players there. No matter how minimal work they end up doing, it all contributes to the win in the end. And I think, in the Shotoku game where Kagami was like, I'm doing this all by myself, if he hadn't have done that, they would have never won the game. It was thanks to Kagami that they ended up getting back in the game so that they could end up winning it at the end. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's mostly just the attitude that I think the likes of Kuroko or the other team members have a problem with, is that when Kagami's just like so like selfish in that regard. But I mean, it helps to have a selfish player. Some of the best players that have ever played any sport at all are the selfish players. And selfish as in they just have the confidence to be able to take it on themselves. Sometimes you need that, you know what I mean? Like, not every single player on the team is like crucial to a win sometimes, and that can be a harsh reality, but that's the way that it is. So I think, I mentioned it during the reaction. I don't know if it'll be in the 10-minute version, but it's in there. I talked about how, this is a similar sort of situation, I feel like, to what happened in Haikyuu when Karasuno ended up losing, and they had to basically evolve and improve their game. Now, the likes of the two in Haikyuu, so Hinata and Kageyama, they both basically split and practiced individually to hone their skills so that when they come back, they work together like even better. You know what I mean? They have their own skills to be able to use, and in tandem with each other, that just makes them that much more powerful. So I feel like in a way that's kind of what has to happen here. I found it interesting that Kiyoshi was the one to make it clear to Kuroko that essentially Kuroko is limiting himself. You know what I mean? Like, he has this whole idealistic image of how a basketball team should be, and how they're you know what I mean, it's all about the team and we all play it together, you know what I mean, and it's it's nice and everything like that he thinks that way, but you need to be able to improve your own game to lift the rest of your team up as well. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes the game has to allow one person to, like I said, pull the rest of the team out of the shit that they're in, and that's that's how you win leagues or tournaments, whatever it is. You have to have those moments where you're not always going to be playing at 100% all of the time, and maybe that one player can just pull you out of that, and give you sort of a break to get yourself back on track. And that's the whole thing of momentum in games and stuff like that. You know what I mean? If you have somebody that's able to keep up and stop the momentum of the other team, that allows you to sort of, it allows the people that need a break or anything like that to sort of slow down a bit, to catch their breath, slow the momentum, and then get back into it. So it's I mean, I feel like that's what they really need right now. I think it also helps with having this Kiyoshi guy involved now, because now it changes the dynamic of how they play, and also they can just, because it's a new guy coming in, they can work around with different styles as well, so that if one style of play isn't working, they can switch to another style to counteract the opposing team. So yeah, I also like the fact as well, towards the beginning of the episode, that Aomine got pissed for somebody bad-mouthing Kuroko. You know what I mean? I was hoping that Aomine would have something to say about that, because, my god, that guy deserves it. I said that he was similar to Kageyama in that way. Kageyama had done that at the beginning of Haikyuu. I think it was in episode 1, actually, where basically the first years of that school were basically saying how the other team was terrible and whatnot, and Kageyama gave them shit for it, and basically was saying you know what I mean, you don't have room to talk shit when you can't even make the bench. So it's just you know what I mean, you're clearly not good enough to even play, so you have no room to talk. So there is that. But yeah, it's kind of heartwarming to see Aomine be that way. So yeah, that was really cool. But yeah, I mean, I don't think I have anything else to really talk about. I think I was right in saying that in the Championship League, Meisei was the one that really, I mean, they were the least. I can't even say that, because they ended up beating Seirin. But if every team was at their best, Meisei would be the weakest one of the group. You can see that by the fact that they won by just 1 point. So even at Seirin's sort of lowest point, they still managed to make it a game kind of thing, so but yeah, I mean, good for Meisei. That means that they get into the Inter High, which I guess no one was expecting, so that's good for them. I don't think they'll last very long in it, but I don't know what we'll see in terms of who plays who in the actual Inter High and whatnot, but yeah, we'll see. Yeah, that's all I've got anyway. So thank you everyone for watching. In the description below I have links to certain things. One of them is the Discord, so you can get yourself over there if you wish. And I also have a Patreon page as well. So if you want to support me on Patreon, that'd be very much appreciated. There is a bunch of different tiers and rewards there, like early access, $5 a month. Of course, episode 20 will be out for the general public along with this episode. So if you want to gain access to episode 21 and 22 right now, you can do by going over to my Patreon, become an access tier patron. So it's $5 a month, gives you access to shows a week early. There's also the full length there. If you do want to watch it in full, every single reaction in full and not just the 10-minute version, then that is there for you as well. And there is also the exclusive tier, which gives you access to movie reactions and things like that. So if you want to see my reactions to movies and everything when I start watching them, then you can do with that tier there. But that's all I got. So thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.